So I want to talk to you about when you feel like there needs to be a change in your life. When you feel like your life is changing or you're going through a change. Some of you are in the middle of transition with children or maybe marriage or maybe you've gone through a divorce. There's all different kinds of transitions. Some are super exciting. Some are super challenging. Actually, no, all changes are challenging, and even the good ones. I have 20, 18, and 15, right? So our three kids hey, guys, thank you so much. Can we give it up to the musicians and the singers? I love these guys. Thank you so much. And you're coming back, right? We'll do this together at the end. Yes, we will. But I'm starting to prepare for when they're starting to move out, and I'm like, they're excited about it. I'm grieved. So change can be both exciting, but it's always challenging. So if you feel like you are going through a change, by the way, sometimes we choose to change. Sometimes we have to change. I think it was Bishop Jakes who told me that marriage is a dance, and you just got to keep dancing. And the music will change without any any kind of clue or cue. The music will just change, and you're gonna go from country to hip hop, and you're gonna be like, wait, you just gotta keep dancing. You gotta keep dancing. And so many of you right now are dancing into a new season, and things are changing for you, and things are changing around you. Things are changing in you. What do you do when you need to change? What do you do when you need to change? So that's what I'm going to talk about this morning, and I'm really excited about it. And I can see some of your faces, and I think you're just cold. So we're gonna get you all warmed up. I'm looking at some of your faces and just kind of That's how I feel about change too, by the way. A super cool message. I was really hoping for one of those messages about how God is gonna bless you abundantly. That's definitely in this message, okay? So stay tuned. And here's the good news. Here's the little, there's a Churchome experience in Atlanta. Is that what the prompter said? Are we saying what's up to Atlanta? Oh, hey, Atlanta. How are you? Michael Penix is a good quarterback. Play him. Let him start for you. I don't know what you guys are doing out there. And Kirk Cousins is a nice guy. He's a really good guy too, but Michael Penix is a star. So Atlanta, take it from us in Seattle. Play him. Make him your starter. He can do it. Anyone with me? Okay. Man, come on. That's our message for Atlanta this morning, you know. Oh, man, I love Atlanta, and I hate your airport. It's my least favorite airport in the whole wide world, the Atlanta airport, but we love you. Thanks, guys, for letting me know. So we're going to talk about changing. That's right. Here's the awesome part about this. Changing is not going to be as hard as you think it's going to be. In fact, I want to even be a little bit more bold with you. I think this time the change that is needed in your life is going to be much easier than the last time, and I'll explain. In fact, let me take it a step further. I think that actually the amount of effort you put into changing last time, you won't need to put in this time, and I'll explain. I think you're going to be really encouraged by how I think God is bringing about change, transformation, and transition in your life. It's going to be good. Are you okay? All right, so that brings me to my flight this morning. I don't always fly Alaska Airlines, but this morning I did. I certainly don't always fly in Sunday morning. That's not the best idea. You do have to kind of really trust Jesus and pray for the best, because if in any way this flight was delayed, I would not be here this morning. And so, it's kind of like, all right, we're doing the 6 a.m. flight out. Here we go. This is going to be wild. So, everything worked out. Not a problem. Was up early, praying for you. While you were sleeping, I was praying because I'm a good pastor. I don't want to brag, but I was up at approximately 4 a.m. You're like, Judah, I think you are bragging. Just because God awoke me to pray for you. Like, Judah, that's not really what happened. No, I pretty much woke up and was like, oh, sweet God in heaven, help me now. Get to the plane, get on board, and kind of get the feeling that this plane's old. Like yellow old. Like the interior of the cabin was yellow. It wasn't originally yellow though. It was cream originally, like a real, but it kind of had turned yellow. Well, this is kind of an older plane. This is a bit surprising. To be fair, I want to say this. I flew in on the LeBron of planes. Now hear me out. Hear me out. LeBron is a legend. I'm really into Starting Five on Netflix. I think it's amazing. Like, I'm blown away by what I'm 46. LeBron is about to turn 40. I'm very, very proud. But I need you to know the average lifespan of a plane, did you know this, in this country, is approximately 20 to 30 years. Now, why do I say that? Because something very strange happened. I had some coffee. The wonderful flight attendant gave me coffee. Before I knew it, I had to use the laboratory, as they call it. Isn't it odd that the only place we call a bathroom in our entire country, a laboratory, is in the air? It's a laboratory. I'm not sure why it's called a laboratory, but I got news for you. This lab is old. I went into the bathroom. This happened this morning. You cannot make this up. This is where my message came from. No, I'm kidding. My message came from the Bible. But I go into the bathroom. I actually took a photo. I should have sent it to the guys. I couldn't help it. I took a photo. All right? I'm a bad guy. I took a photo because as I'm preparing to utilize the laboratory, I see something I never thought I'd see another day in my life. I'm serious. I do a lot of flying. If you know my story and our family story, my older sister Wendy and I flew around with my mom and dad. We went to every state in the union except North and South Dakota. My dad traveled as a public speaker, particularly talking to young people in America, teaching them about vision and destiny and purpose and this sense of value and dignity and purpose and plan of God for their life. It was called the Dragon Slayer Seminar. It was the 80s. And so I've been on planes my whole life. If you know my story with the Atlanta airport, I got lost in the Atlanta airport when I was 8 years old. I mean, lost. Like standing in the middle, just crying, and a wonderful older woman from Atlanta saved my life that day. Why was I lost? Because my parents neglected me and abandoned me and were not there for me. Ministry was more important. No, I'm kidding. It wasn't. I just took a wrong turn. But really, where were mom and dad when you think about it? But anyways, I have forgiven them since. So I've been flying a long, long time. At 46 years old, I've seen a lot when it comes to airplanes, but I hadn't been in this seasoned of an aircraft in quite some time. When I got to the laboratory, true story, to my left was an ashtray. And I accessed it. I mean, I don't smoke, but you can open it, and it was there under this premise that if in fact you were seated using the laboratory at one point in this plane, it was just, while you're using the laboratory, you can just maybe read a newspaper as well. I'm not sure what they did back in the 1800s, but apparently, and so I did what anybody from Seattle does when you land. I started to use ChatGPT to figure out, when did our country outlaw smoking in airplanes? Because that would give us some evidence, some indication of how old this plane was that I flew in. Here's some fun facts that are going to absolutely blow you away. At least they blew me away. 1973 in our country, we started to figure out in these tubes in the sky, this smoking thing is probably going to be problematic. 1973, that's approximately 4, 5, 6 years before I was born, in case you were wondering. And at that point, the United States kind of got together and they were like, yo, we got to like split people up. So that's 1973 was when they said, hey, let's have a smoking and a non-smoking section. Now, some of you remember some of this. I certainly do. I am that old. But there was a smoking and non-smoking. I remember sometimes as a very young boy, I would be close to the smoking section. I love that we thought a tube in the sky, that it would matter if there was a smoking and non-smoking. So in 1973, our conscience became aware in this country that we probably shouldn't allow families, children, infants, for instance, to suck in the air of tobacco and nicotine. In 1988, we finally said enough is enough. And no longer was smoking allowed on flights. That's 2 years before, I don't know, The Weeknd was born. He's an artist, a hip-hop artist. 1988 is the same year Rihanna was born, in case you wonder who I care about. Rihanna was born in 1988. I literally flew in on the LeBron of airplanes. I want you to think about this. This airplane is, well, I'm pretty sure it's as old as me or maybe older. It felt like an old friend. I said, hey, old friend, and also got me thinking how old I am. I went to use the lavatory and I couldn't help it. And the flight attendant was a very, very nice person. And I came out of the bathroom and I go, you know when you're in your own thoughts and so you jump into like a statement or a phrase without any like kind of introductions or hello? I go, did you see that? She looked up, she goes, I'm sorry? I go, do you see what's in the bathroom? Like we were having a moment. She's like, what? And she smiled like she knew what I was about to say. I said, there is an ashtray in, like you go to prison for like 10 years now if you smoke in the lavatory. And she's like, I know, this one's old. And we just kind of bonded over oldness. Sometimes change becomes apparent. It is time to make a change. I would like to say to anyone listening who has any relationship to Alaska Airlines, I wish I knew the tail number. We got to let that plane go. I'm serious. We got to let it go. I'm willing to come do a ceremony for your LeBron plane, but you got to let that plane go. That plane is, wow, 1988. That's when we banned smoking. That's not when that plane was made. Anyways, okay, I think I'm done. Sometimes change is obvious. Sometimes you see things in your life, you're like, I gotta change. Now, there's many reasons all of us sit here this morning on a Sunday morning in late November and Thanksgiving week in the great Pacific Northwest in Seattle, Washington, and you're anticipating coming into the ballroom here in Bellevue or watching on the internet from Atlanta where Michael Penix is going to be your franchise quarterback, and we're all leaning in, watching, wondering, man, what thing will God speak to me today? Well, I've got one thing that's for sure: change is coming. Ready or not, change is coming. Now, imagine the range of change in the room this morning. Imagine the range of change from Atlanta to all watching from their living rooms and bedrooms on the internet, all the different levels and stages and places of change. Imagine there are people in here, your whole life's changed because a loved one has slipped into eternity. 2 friends this week contacted me about a loved one who had passed away, someone I knew, and we texted and exchanged love and praying for you, thinking about you. Boy, your life changes. Every holiday season, I think about my dad who started this church December 19th. Is the day that he passed. Many of you, some of you at least in this room, you remember those days and you knew my father. And I think of how dramatic my life has changed. Some of you are going to move cities in this country come January. You just found out you're being relocated. There's change coming. Some of you have found out that you've got to make a change in your diet. You just met with the good doctor, and he or she said, you gotta stop the cheesecake. And so you've determined that this will be your last holiday with cheesecake. But come January, you got to get rid of cheesecake. The Cheesecake Factory is across the street, so make sure you get one before January comes. Strawberry cheesecake at the Cheesecake Factory is some good stuff. I can see some of you, and you just locked in with me. You just decided to listen to me, and it means the world. I've been fishing for you for 12 minutes already, but you just locked in. I thought the airplane stuff was good enough to get you. It didn't work, but the cheesecake got you. Welcome to the party. I'm glad you're here. All kinds of changes. Kid changes. Got friends who just had kids. Got friends whose kids are at that stage where you got to make sure you whisper or go in another room to talk because they're listening and they're picking up on the tension, the agitation, the vocabulary, the words. All of a sudden, your kids are using words. You're like, where did you learn that? And your wife looks at you and you go, oh, yeah. Right? There's all kinds of changes. It's funny being the age of parent I am now. Boy, did I make that mistake. Because you think your babies are babies. And you think that you can talk about adult stuff just in general terms and they'll never know. And I'm now the parent who looks at other parents who have like a 6-year-old and I go, let's talk about this maybe in the other room. And they're like, huh? Who are you talking about? Oh, he's listening. Trust me, don't do what I did, right? There's all kinds of change. It's always happening. And perhaps this morning you feel that need. Perhaps this morning you are aware. Now, you might not be as aware as I was when I went in that laboratory and saw that ashtray. But I hope possibly even in the first few moments we have shared with some comedy and levity that perhaps you have thought to yourself, I need to change. I need to change. Another concept or need for change might be something that nobody knows about that you've been trying to quit, that you've been trying to shake, that you've been trying to stop, and you know you need to change. Maybe you're like me and you've been married so long, you start to really, really think you got it figured out, and you take a trip for your 25th wedding anniversary, which was phenomenal, I might add, only to learn there are new things you need to change so that you can go another 25. I thought once you got to 25, you could throw that thing in cruise control. And I've learned that when you get to 25, you get to start over again. Right? It's so awesome how God made this life. Thank you, Lord. You know, as the kids are transitioning, it's like, boy, it's a new dance. I've got to change. Now, if you're built like me, you're like, man, I just keep anticipating that chapter where like God is going to say, or like my wife is going to say, or like my friends are going to say, you did it. You did it. You'll never need to change again. You can be the same yesterday, today, and forever, just like the Lord. And yet it has occurred to me that that day's never coming. I'll tell you what is coming, change. So if by now I have used these first 15 minutes to sway you enough to engage with me on the topic of change, then perhaps I've done my job at the outset. The title of this message is When Change is Needed. When change is needed. I want to read to you 1 Corinthians in chapter 13 and verse 11. If you are familiar with 1 Corinthians chapter 13, by the way, whoever you are, wherever you find yourself in your human experience and your human journey, whether you're watching on the internet, whether you're in Atlanta, whether you're here in Seattle, I just want to say to you, you are welcome here. that one of the big ideas behind Churchome is you do not have to believe that Jesus Christ is the superhero of the world. You don't have to believe that Jesus is God. It's going to be real evident from here on out. You're going to discover that I believe Jesus is the most important person. I believe he's alive. I believe he knew no sin, committed no sin, so that he could pay the penalty for my sin and my selfishness. I know you're perfect. I'm definitely not. So I need Jesus. I'm into Jesus. I love Jesus. I want to live like Jesus, look like Jesus. I want to listen like Jesus. I want to be kind like Jesus. I want to live and follow Jesus. So from this point on, like it is most Sundays that I am here or on our app, we are committed to the centrality and sufficiency of Jesus. I believe he is the model. I believe he is the source. I believe he is the point. I believe he is the purpose. I believe he is the process. So now I want to share with you a chapter called 1 Corinthians 13. It's called 1 Corinthians because it's the first letter Paul, one of the main leaders, writes almost 50% of the New Testament with the help of God. This is his first letter to Jesus followers living in Corinth many, many years ago. By the time we get to what we now call chapter 13, it is kind of famously known in the Christian circles as the love chapter. This is where the scripture gives us this zenith kind of moment that the three things that remain in life is faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. There is an ornate description of love in 1 Corinthians 13 that if you ever go to a Christian wedding, 100% chance it will be quoted. Like this, I don't know if I've ever been to a Christian wedding where love is patient, love is kind, love is long-suffering, and most everyone in attendance is thinking, I wonder if the guy will be able to do this. It's always like, that's the feeling I get at Christian weddings. Like, do you think the husband will follow through with this? Right? So, but this love chapter is all about Jesus. Jesus is the personification of love. Jesus is the zenith of love. But it says this about change. It says this about transition. It says this, when I was a child, Paul says, I spoke about childish matters. This is the Passion Translation. For I saw things like a child and reasoned like a child. But the day came when I matured and I set aside my childish ways. When I was a child, I spoke about childish matters. I saw things like a child and reasoned like a child, but the day came when I matured, I set aside my childish ways. Now, 1 Corinthians 13:11 is a pretty, for those that don't know, this is a pretty well-known verse for Americans because this really fits our culture. What I mean by that is this is like a Christian football coach or a Christian teacher, or this is a verse they would really like. It's like, hey, you got to put away that childish stuff in your life. It is time to mature. Paul says in the great love chapter in 1 Corinthians 13, when I was a child, I thought like a child, reasoned like a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. You need to make your bed. You need to brush your teeth. You need to do your homework. You need to be on time for practice. You need to make sure that you are committed, follow through. What you start, you always finish. Not saying any of that is bad. But that's not what this verse means at all. I'm sorry if I just ruined someone's whole 1 Corinthians 13:11 party. It's famous, like we put it on our refrigerator when we have young kids. We're like, put away childish things, right? And so what we mean is tantrums, gossip, not finishing their food at dinner. Hey, 1 Corinthians 13:11, that's going to be a theme in this family. We're going to put away childish things. It's time to grow up. It's time to own your mistakes. It's time to follow through on your commitments. It's time to commit to hard work and be who you are. Again, not saying, please hear me out. I'm not saying, some of you are like, that kind of sounds exactly what I told the kids today before we got in the minivan and came to the Westin in Bellevue. That's not bad. That's awesome. I believe in all those things. But I want you to know that 1 Corinthians 13:11, how do I say this? It kind of means almost the opposite of that, if I'm really honest. In fact, what's being spoke about in this change is Paul is literally describing that he's going from childish to childlike. He's actually explaining that he's moving from the law, which is hard work, do good, cross all your T's, dot all your I's, floss, brush, make your bed, comb your hair, shake hands, hold the door open, be a gentleman, all good stuff. But like law living, which is performance-based, it's outcome-based, it's very much, am I doing good? Am I working hard? Am I tending to all my details? Am I following through? It makes for a really good pregame speech for a sports team. But Paul is saying, what he describes as childish matters is all that equates to the law. And what he speaks of in maturity is everything that pertains to love. So Paul here is translating to us, or is communicating to us, originally to ancient Corinthians living in Corinth, and say it's time to grow up. But his idea of growing up is literally to leave law living behind and enter into love living. Now, to be fair, what Paul's describing here is that God will grant you love. He will gift you his love. He will give you his righteousness. It's given to you. And upon receiving love, the law will lose its luster, and you will put it away like you would put toys away, toys that were meant for a toddler, but now you have a teenager. So you would look at the teenager, and you don't leave the Tonka truck out for the teenager. You put it away, or you give it away. The imagery here in the message in the original language and context tells us that he's not saying that you labor to mature. He's saying you let go to mature. Let me translate that a little bit if you're not picking up what I'm putting down. To change with God has far more to do with letting go than with working harder. It's true. So I know this is not the time to shout me down, but you're like, for real? Yeah, for real. Good news, though. Good news. Changing with God is responding to his initiative. And by being overwhelmed with his love, you're willing to let go of all the things you need to do to change. And you need to let go and trust him to change you. God's in the change business. God wants to change you. Do you know your greatest obstacle to changing in your life? Do you know what your greatest obstacle is? You're not going to like this. You're not going to like this, but I love you, and I got a smile on my face, and it is going to be a beautiful Thanksgiving week, and there's football on Thursday. You know the greatest obstacle to you changing is you. It's you. And perhaps this is Chelsea hates when I say dirty little secret. She's like, it's weird. Stop saying that word dirty or the phrase dirty little secret. So I stopped saying it, except that I just said it. By saying, I stopped saying it. So there you go. But perhaps the greatest hindrance to you changing is you trying to do the changing. Paul says, when I was a child, listen. When I was a child, I spoke about childish matters, for I saw things like a child and reasoned like a child. But the day came when I matured. Wait, what? The day came when I matured? Is that how the body works? Is that how nature works? Like just someday, like, matured. Now listen, I mean, you got kids, like someday you just kind of wake up and you're like, now when did you stop being like chunky and chubby and start being like grown looking? You know what I mean? And if you have daughters, you know what I'm talking about. It's like, when did you become a woman? No. Go back into your room and come out a little girl. I don't want the woman that just came out, right? But it doesn't happen like one day you just mature. What's he talking about? He's literally talking about gifted righteousness. He's talking about what happens when you trust Jesus. you become like that, the righteousness of God in Christ Jesus. Now, by definition, Paul is saying the day came when I matured. The day came. Didn't earn it, didn't deserve it, didn't do it, didn't warrant it, but the day came that I matured. And I set aside. Let me ask you, how laborious does set aside sound to you? It's not meant to emphasize. You would think he'd say, but the day came when I matured. From that day forward, I started to plot and plan and prepare and process the elimination of things in my life that were like headwind. They were against me. They were not serving me or helping me. And it was at that moment I began to journal. And then I began to get a vision board. And I began to plot and plan and process and prepare and pray for all that God was going to do in me. Because the day I began to mature, I started to realize that I had a... No, he just said I set aside. Just like a Tonka truck that you think your teenager is still going to play with. Your teenager's like, Mom, I have a smartphone. You know, like I don't want the Tonka truck. And so you would take that Tonka truck. By the way, the Tonka truck is so kind of pointless and useless. You literally would throw it in the garbage. You'd give it away. It's not even that you put it in the cupboard. It's not even that you really, now, if you're like me, I see toys now and I'm like, I'm gonna keep that because I'm preparing for grandkids, so give me that toy. But you know, when your kids grow up, I don't got a purpose. I got 20, 18, and 15. I don't need Tonka trucks. I wish I still did though. Hear me out, okay? But like we just give it away. That set aside is not a big task. It's not something you got to figure out. It's as obvious as an ashtray in a lavatory in an airplane. What is that? We don't smoke up here anymore. That's what happens when love moves in to your soul. All of a sudden, the ways of the law, the ways of do good, get good, the ways of earning and deserving and warranting, the ways of grinding, meaning like this mentality that I got to strain and stress and work hard to get what I want, begin to fade and fizzle because I am loved. I am his. I am righteous. And all of a sudden, you begin to figure out how God changes us. He does it sometimes without asking, if you've noticed. He starts to change you. And the truck that used to entertain you for hours, it was your favorite gift under the Christmas tree one year, is now a chuckle when you see it. Because you're like, I don't play with Tonka trucks anymore. Now be careful, don't make fun of people who still do. Because they're on their own journey. Come on now. I'm making a metaphor, but it preaches. But you well and truly know there are some things in your life that used to be a big Tonka truck deal. And now you gave that away. You set that aside. You don't need rules and regulations when you have transcendent, unconditional love. Now, how does this relate? You're like, well, Judah, this is really a spiritual change that you're speaking of, except that I believe it applies to every kind of change, transformation, or transition we go through in this life. So here's what I'd like to do. Based on my exegesis, based on my study of this one verse, lodged right before that famous, and there remains faith, hope, and love, and the greatest of these is love. Right before that is this verse about change. I want to make three observations. Three things. Now, essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, based on the study of this verse, here's three things. It's not an exhaustive verse. It's not intended to be a foolproof 3 points, but it is an observation I think will be helpful. And I'm going to show you the change that happens when you go from law to love, when you go from childish to childlike. Now remember, all of God's change, it's not like the human one. It's time for you to grow up. Grow up is one of my favorite phrases. It's hilarious. Grow up. I like saying it to myself. Grow up, Judah. But in God's economy, to grow up, you become childlike. Maturity. Now remember, like, Jesus even talks about this. He's like, God, he makes this, one time he prays, it's in John, he prays out loud for people to hear him. He's like, God, I thank you, you've not revealed this to mature, old, wise sages, but you've revealed your plan to kids. He's like letting us in on a hint. Remember when Jesus says, unless you become like a child, you won't even understand what I'm doing in the earth. Which is to say, we've got to get back to that childlike wonder. Now, here's the good news. Here's the good news. It's not this change you're going through. This change that is pending is not dependent on you. It's dependent on him. And if you will let go and trust him, he will do a work in you. And I love therapists and I love therapy. Man, it's expensive. But I think you should do therapy, and that's awesome. But I promise you, Jesus can do in your soul what even therapy can't do. And he can change you. Before I give you these 3 observations, I want to say to you, I believe personally, I am going through a change. And the truth is, there is pain in change. That's oftentimes the reason we don't move the Tonka truck. Because it hurts and I don't want to change anymore. And I just like my truck and I like the way things were. It's called nostalgia. It's a billion-dollar industry. Yeah. It's the reason Mariah Carey makes $100 million every year this time of year. I always think about her right around now, and I'm like, oh, Mariah, you did it. Right? I mean, it's just true. It's awesome. I'm so happy for her. So, it's painful to change, but God will help us. Here's what I think is happening when we go from childish to childlike. When we go from law to love, Jesus starts to change us. Here's the first thing that happens. We go from people are our source to God is my source. Real simple. Real simple. For instance, when change is pending, if you're like me, I want to talk to a bunch of people about it. Now, some of you aren't like this at all. You want to talk to no one. And that's good too, because people can be mean. But if you're like me, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna, what do you think? And how do I do? And get everybody's way in. And if I'm not careful, I see people as my source. One of the ways we see people as our source is people are the people that could promote us, or the people that could position us, or the people that could pay us, or so people become my source. I'm moving cities. I need to make sure I got enough money. I need to stay connected. I need to, and so connection, the right conversations or the right presentation, all these things become very urgent in different seasons and chapters of change. Change can often make you feel like people aren't doing enough for you. Has this ever happened? You ever moved cities and you haven't heard from people from your old one? And you're like, wow, fair weather friends. Thought you were my friends. You know how many conversations over my lifetime of 46 years were like, hey, nice to see you. But the way it's said, it means the exact opposite. Wow. Remember when we used to be friends? You ever get that one? And oftentimes, think about when that usually is shared. When a change happened. Your kids don't go to the same school anymore. You move cities. You change your work, your occupation. We work with people and we think we're going to be friends forever. It's adorable, but it happens to us every time. Like people we just share a cubicle next to. People we're like a barista with. People we teach in the same school with. And we're like, oh my God, I love you so much. You're the best. You said exchange Christmas gifts. And you're like, come on for Thanksgiving. You can't, no big deal. Let's have a Friendsgiving. It's amazing. Friendsgiving is such an awesome put together words. And I love it. People say it like it's super innovative. We're going to do a Friendsgiving. Yeah, that's cool. Anyways, all right, sorry. I had someone this week who was telling me, I'm really into Friendsgiving. And I'm like, am I supposed to act like I've never heard that before? Okay, so anyways, sorry. Too much. But it's amazing how change reveals how we truly feel. I thought you'd be there for me. Bro, I told you. This happens to me. I do this. When I'm going through painful change in my life, it's funny. I am not a keep score kind of friend. You know what I mean by keep score kind of friend? Like I call you, why don't you call me? I text you, why don't you text me? You know, keep score friends. I usually don't keep score. But if I'm in enough pain, I'll keep score on all y'all. Yeah. If the change is big enough, I'll keep score. I sure will. My brain just does it naturally, right? It's amazing. And what is that telling us? We see people as our source. And if they're not there for us, this change isn't going to work. I'm not going to make it. What if God was your source? What if you put this on God? What if you, I'm dead serious, what if you blamed God? Dead serious is a bad term. I got to change that. I'm alive serious. God is your source. Source for your money. Source for your comfort. Source for your provision. Source for your protection. Source for your leadership. Source of wisdom. Source of insight. Source of healing. Source of forgiveness. Speak well of people. Forgive people. Love people. Next time you see him and you hadn't seen him in 6 months because there was a change, maybe instead of going, where have you been? Nice to see you. You go, you know what I've realized, us not talking this whole time, how much you meant to me. You have been, over the years, I so treasured. I realize now 6 months, you know, we hadn't seen a lot of each other because I changed jobs and changed cities, but I couldn't wait to see you again, to tell you how much you meant to me and do mean to me. And I just want to say I love you. And you know what? As a matter of fact, I'm sorry I haven't reached out more. And maybe that's hurt your feelings. But if you're like me, you see him and you're like, so what's up? You good? You must be real busy. Oh, man, I got so many real stories that I'm not going to share. I'm just going to act out the ethereal ones. But I got some real ones I'll share at a different time in a different sermon where no one will hear it. Okay. So what happens when we go from childish to childlike? What happens when we take on the 1 Corinthians 13:11 model for change is God's our source. God's our source, not people. And boy, when God becomes your source, here's the secret. Not dirty little secret, because my wife said I can't say that anymore. Here's the wonderful, clean little secret. That when God is your source and you have that confident ease, people are drawn to you. Hey, I miss you. I miss you too. How you been? Yeah, God, I should have called more. I understand. You got a lot going on. You raising a family just like me. I miss you too. It's so good to see you. Well, how's the new job been? Man, it's half the pay and double the work. But man, I tell you what, my wife and I were learning about each other and the kids are good. How are you doing? You did get that promotion. You're making twice what you used to make. When I left, they gave you my pay. That's awesome. That's amazing. I'm so happy for you. I'm going to pay. Let's go to the Cheesecake Factory. You know, whatever. Like, it's amazing how attractive you'll be. God is your source in any season of life, but particularly when it comes to change. Number two, we move from not just people to God as our source, but we move from work is my way to worship is my way. Work is oftentimes a synonym with change. We think to ourselves, oh, it's change time. All right, everybody put your bootstraps on. Like bootstraps, like put your boots on by using your bootstraps. Everybody pull up your boots and your bootstraps. Everybody, batten down the hatches. Everybody man your battle stations. Dad, what's going on? We're changing. Family meeting. I know you're 2, but I need you to step up. Daddy? It's Dad. Enough with the daddy. It's time to change. Smith family, we're going forward. All hands on deck, let's go. Right? And that's how us Americans do it. Some of you who are born here, you're like, what's wrong with you guys? A lot of things. But this is one of them, right? We're just like, we're going to work our way to change. And so we develop attitudes around this, We develop attitudes. One of the biggest tells when you are childish and you think work is the way to change is you think and earn and deserve. That's how you think. You think I earn and deserve. And so you keep score without even knowing it in another way now. Who's earned and deserved it? Now you got a problem on your hand because if you let this go unchecked for too long, guarantee, as Charles Barkley would say, guarantee you're going to have a moment in your life where somebody who clearly did not earn or deserve what you had earned and deserved will get the thing you changed to get. And all of a sudden, you're going to be in a kerfuffle. Yeah, a conundrum of sorts. And you're going to be all worked up. And can I be honest with you? What is supposed to make Jesus worshipers different is moments just like the one I described. When other people get blessed, favored, promoted, prosperous, and they do half of what you do. I'm a parent, right? You know this by now. I see some parents and I'm like, oh, your kids are going to be nightmares. And they end up being angels. And I'm like, that's not fair. I bet they didn't even have family dinner and they never did highs and lows and buffaloes. They don't go on dates with their daughters. Why are their daughters so good? Right? It's life, whatever it is. Whatever category matters to you, you can always find somebody who's like, it just works out for you. Super cool. Super awesome. Is this about work? When you think change is coming, do you get ready to work or do you get ready to worship? Or do you get ready to worship? Or do you get ready to worship? There's this, I'm not going to go much longer. I know you're already playing the piano. A little early, but I hear you. No, I'm serious. No, it's actually perfect. It's perfect. I know the staff sent you up here. If you don't go now, we'll be here till kickoff. I get it. Message is loud and clear. I'm kidding. It's perfect. There's a story in the Old Testament. There's this guy Gideon. He's used by God in these wild ways, and God uses him in this crazy battle, and he's going up against like 100,000 Philistines or whatever, and they're like the most formidable army probably in the known world. It's crazy and wild, and Gideon is supposed to lead kind of God's army against the bad guys, and the bad guys are huge and they're big and they're strong and they're talented and they got a lot of weapons and they're really, really good. And Gideon's like, all right, God. And he's like, I'm going to give you an army. So he brings like tens of thousands of guys out and he's like, hey, take them to go drink from like the brook, the river, the creek, whatever. And he's like, all right, yeah. You guys thirsty? They're like, yeah, all right, let's have a drink. Gideon's just kind of winging this, right? God's just like, now. And then God's like, hey, watch how they drink. And Gideon's like, all right, we should be like running sprints and lines and we should be, I don't know, making weapons, God. And he's like, now notice how they drink. Listen now, notice how they drink. And like tens of thousands, this is probably like 10, 15,000, forget what it was. They dunk their head into the creek, the river, whatever, because they're so exhausted, they just have to drink. And there's like 300 guys that cup the water and keep their eyes on the horizon. And wouldn't you know, God goes, those are your guys. He's like, what? Send the head dunkers home. I want the sippers. Can I tell you one of the things I think that means? See what happens when we work more than worship? We get so exhausted that when the time comes to drink, we dunk our head in it. That's why we drink too much. That's why we watch so much entertainment and television, our soul feels funky. Because we get dunked. Because we trying to make it happen, train it out, work it out, figure it out. Sometimes even prayer is not what you're supposed to worship. I love you, God. I hope you're there. I'm really tired here. Help me now. I think I should be doing emails, but I'm singing to you today. Fix my wife, Lord. Like, start being real honest, It's been 2 weeks, no sex. Like all kinds of things. That's not the American way. I go to church on Sunday, right? Like, I got to work. Facts. I got to work. And one of the tells of trusting work more than worship is you just dunk your head. It's called escapism. It's a real thing. And I know it because I done it and I do it. Yeah. I use drinking as an escape. I did. Stopped 6 years ago now. And I knew God had asked me to. It was my 20th wedding anniversary after a margarita. And I was exhausted, and I felt like God said, I try to tell you. My wife and I got in a fight. One, I was winning. But stayed up all night that night, my 20th wedding anniversary, and God said, I already asked you to let this go. I don't want you to dunk your head in this. I don't want you to escape. I want you to come to me. I know what I'm talking about. Come on, are we family? Are we family? Are we doing this or are we doing this? Like you want to change? It's easier than you think. Working your way to change. And the problem is you're going to start keeping score. You're going to start maybe drinking too much. This message ain't about who should drink and who shouldn't drink. It's definitely about, like, don't let drinking be the thing when Jesus is. Right? I mean, he said, I'll keep the 300 guys that sipped the water and kept their eyes on the horizon. Those are my guys. And he works a miracle, and 300 guys end up beating like 150,000 Philistines. God has this strategic plan. We'll get into that some other time. But I think how you drink will tell you how you're doing with work. What if you just started to worship a little more? What if you thought about worship the way you think about work? You think work is a vehicle to earn, and what if you saw worship as a vehicle? God, I'm here. I love you. I love you. Use music and melody and harmony, but by the way, worship is not music and music is not worship. Music can help you worship, but worship is not mere music. It is the adoration of God in many forms. When your attention begins to turn to him, you can go on a walk, and sometimes the walk is your worship while you admire his trees and his birds and the grass and the flowers. The reason I like fresh flowers in my house is because I like them, deal with it. But I also like them because it can help me worship. Can't believe God made those. You are wild, man. You're amazing. Worship becomes the way you move. We think work is the way we move. Oh, you want a new house? Well, then you better get a job. If you're like me and you're a parent, your kids are like, Dad, we really need more food. How about you work and earn some money so we can get more food, right? Like, it's like, Dad, we don't have any toothpaste. Buy your own toothpaste. I've been paying for your toothpaste 20 years. Work is like a way to move, to gain things, get things. Worship is the way to move. I'm telling you, stuff moves when you worship. Obstacles move when you worship. Provision appears when you worship. When you make it about him and you set your eyes on him, lift up your eyes. From whence comes your help? Your help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Lift up your eyes. And I'm coming to a close now. I'm done. Short sermon, if you think about it, in the grand scheme of the whole week. God becomes your source, worship becomes your way, and instead of talent being your tool for change, trust becomes your tool. Trust becomes your tool. You know, if you're American like me, you learn to use the talent God gave you. Well, I'm going to use the talent God gave me. And so it leads to more. People are our source. Work is my way, and talent is my tool. What's going on with you? I'm changing. And what God wants is worship and trust. Now, that leads us. Thank you, band. Your timing is impeccable. Another cue that the preacher's ending soon. There's a story in John chapter 10 or Luke chapter 10, where Jesus goes to see Mary and Martha. And if you know me, you know this is one of my favorite stories in all of the New Testament. It's here that Jesus comes to a home to share a meal and share some time. And I end with this story, and I end with this illustration. As Jesus enters the home of Martha, Mary, and Lazarus, if you know Lazarus, he later will die and he will raise him from the dead. Mary, Martha, and Lazarus are the closest family unit to Jesus other than his own. Some argue that he was nearly, if not more so, close to Mary, Martha, and Lazarus than even some of his own disciples. He spent a lot of time with these two sisters and their little brother. Martha is the oldest, Mary is the younger sister, and Lazarus is their baby brother. Jesus comes over on an afternoon to spend time with Martha and Mary. And if you know the story, the older sister, Martha, true to her birth order, she is basically in the kitchen preparing to host Jesus upon his arrival. Mary, she's crisscross applesauce in front of Jesus in the living room. And here's my point, and I could preach it, and we could go on and on. I don't know if that's up on the screen. You can put that up on the screen. I'll just read the story so you know I'm not making it up. But it says, as Jesus and the disciples continued on their journey, they came to a village where a woman welcomed Jesus into her home. Her name was Martha, and she had a sister named Mary. Mary sat down attentively before the master, absorbing every revelation he shared. But Martha became exasperated by finishing the numerous household chores in preparation for her guests. So she interrupted Jesus and said, Lord, don't you think it's unfair that my sister left me to do all the work by myself? You should tell her to get up and help me. And Jesus said, Martha, I love you so much, Martha. Why are you upset and troubled, pulled away by all these many distractions? Are they really that important? Mary has discovered the one thing that is most important by choosing to sit at my feet. She's undistracted, and I won't take that privilege from her. I just want to tell you something about you. As much as you feel like your life was built in the kitchen, I got news for you. It was built in the living room. I know you want to cook up something good for God in your life in the proverbial kitchen of your soul, your brain, and your body. If you're like me, when the time becomes apparent and obvious, just like an ashtray in the bathroom of a plane, we got to let this plane go, Alaska. When change becomes obvious, it's demanded. You got to shift. You got to change. What are you going to do? I tell you what I normally do. I go in the kitchen and I start to try and cook it up. I'm going to change, God. And I think to myself, and this is where a lot of the misunderstanding of the new covenant and the New Testament way of Jesus is, we actually think that in our mindset that the kitchen is the most noble place to be. When God says it's time to shift and change, I got to get in the kitchen and I've got to start working and connecting with people, and I got to start using my talent and using what God gave me, and I'm going to figure this out for my family. I'm going to figure this out for my friends. I'm going to honor the gifts God's given me and honor the talents God's given me, and I'm going to cook it up in the kitchen. Man, where you been? I've been changing. So Martha, exasperated with Mary's inaction, says to Jesus, not to her sister, because why talk to your sibling when they're sitting there? Use manipulation and passive aggressiveness and speak to Jesus when she's sitting right there. This sounds like siblings. Jesus, tell her. I don't even want to tell her. You ever felt that way about somebody who's everything's working out in their life and you're like, they don't even pray? When's the last time they read the good book? I'm telling you, there's a space where you change, and it's in the living room. It's not in the kitchen. But I gotta warn you about the living room. In the living room, you can't take the credit. In the living room, you can't say you earned or deserved it. In the living room, you'll lose hold of the story that you knew and you planned and you prepared. I want to warn you, if you're in love with that narrative over your life, don't go in the living room, because that's where control goes to die. That's where taking credit goes to die. That's where, when people will say you got lucky, your best response is, you're pretty right. Things just work out for you. I know. How did this? Wait, what did you? Not a lot. Whatever God asked me to do, I did it. A friend of mine yesterday asked me, what do you really want for your life? And at 46, I used to not answer. At 46, I said, I can honestly say, I want what he has for me. That's it. That's it. And the reason I have one wife and I'm only with her and I love her is because I know that's who God has for me. And I know that's where the life is. That's where the enjoyment and the fulfillment is. Don't go beyond what he has for you. And sometimes we're in the kitchen cooking with ingredients he didn't even give us. Making cakes he didn't ask us to make. But you get into the living room and you sit with him, and your friends and your neighbors and the Joneses, they will ask questions about you. You have lost your mind. You took a lesser job. You took a lesser pay. You gave your car away. You're giving too much money away. You're losing, you're losing, you're losing, you're losing, you're losing. And yet when you lose your life, Jesus says, it's there. You'll find it. I'm wondering this morning on the internet, in Atlanta, in Seattle, if perhaps God is speaking to you like he's speaking to me. And I think the message is, you're adorable. Listen to what he says. Martha, my beloved Martha. He's not mad at you, friend. Don't get it twisted. He's calling you beloved. Oh, Judah, my beloved Judah. You're in the kitchen again. You're adorable. I know you think you can figure this out or talk your way out or wiggle your way out or work your way out. No, my son. You're anxious. You're worked up. You're thinking about every variable and all the details, and you need to come. You know, the person you're criticizing, the person you think who hasn't worked like you work, you need come into the living room where I am. I don't know who I'm talking to this morning, but I'm talking to somebody, and I might be talking to me. Will you close your eyes just for a moment? Jesus, 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 Jesus. Come on. Come on. He says, come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, burned out on religion. and I'll give you rest for your soul. My yoke is easy, my burden is light. Sit with me, my son, sit with me, my daughter, and let me wash you with my words. You have not been this way before, so stay close to me. Keep your eyes on me. God's talking to some people in this room and on the internet. Stay close to me. Keep your eyes on me. You've not been this way before. No fear. You're in my hands. No worry. I will make the way. I will restore what has been lost. I will repair what has been broken. I will do in your brain and your body what you cannot do for yourself. I will restore relationships. I'll restore family members. Watch and see what I will do. Put it in my hands, for my plan is true and my ways are sure. You have not taken this route before, so I will do the leading, and I will do the guiding, and I will do the directing. And it will be wonderful, and it will be marvelous. Do not seek to know all the details. Trust me, worship me, lean on me, and I will make a way where there does not currently seem to even be a way. I will open up the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing you have not room enough to receive. You are about to come into a chapter and a season that you have not even dreamed up or even imagined. I am going to prepare surprises for you. In fact, I already have. Come and sit with me. Come and sit with me. Rest with me. Revel in me. For together we will celebrate it as if it's already done, for it is. God would say to you today, Lord, I pray over your people watching on the internet, in this ballroom, in Atlanta, or wherever your children are. We are all your children. The earth is yours and the fullness thereof. We are all your sons and daughters. And you are carefully watching over our lives, our details, our weeks, our days, our hours, and our minutes. Jesus. However you want to do this, I'm just going to ask you to do this, and I'm almost done. I'm going to ask you to open up your palms. We do this sometimes in guided prayers on that, but just open up both of your palms, one of your palms, however it feels comfortable. And what we're doing right now is we're physically going to demonstrate in our body that we are letting go. That's how we're going to change. We're going to let go. That's how we're going to change. We're going to worship. That's how we're going to change. We're not going to control it. We're going to trust it. We're going to trust him. He's in control. It's not by might, it's not by power, but it's by my spirit, says the Lord. His spirit will do for you what you don't even know to do. So here's our life. Here's our days. In fact, God, you said you numbered our days in your book, and you know them by number. We give you the rest of our days. We give you the rest of our life. We give you the rest of our years. You are the captain. You are the leader. You are the guide. You are the shepherd. It's you, and we trust you, and we trust you, and we trust you. Just before we sing, just before we use melody and harmony as a point of worship, if you're here today watching on the internet in Atlanta or Seattle and you would like to receive Jesus as the leader of your life, you'd like to accept Jesus for who he claimed to be. He was God in physical form. He was the once and for all sacrifice for the selfishness and sin of mankind. If, like me, you are persuaded that Jesus is exactly who he said he was, the way, the truth, and the life, and you want to walk with him, and you want to know him, and you want to grow with him, and you want to change with him, if that's what you want for the rest of your days, would you shoot your hand up wherever you are, even if you're alone in your bedroom watching on the internet? Would you just shoot your hand up? I see that hand. I see that hand. Maybe you're in a bedroom, lift it up, or you're in Atlanta, you lift up your hand. I want that. You're physically just responding to what you know is true in your soul. God, you see every hand, but most importantly, you see every heart. And I thank you. You forgive, you heal, you save, and you deliver completely. We are the righteousness of God in Christ Jesus, and we thank you for it. In Jesus' name. And everybody said, if you're willing and able, would you stand with us? And let's join the singers and the musicians and let's worship. Come on, worship is our way.